things seem very consequential
Yeah.
when you're there, when you're in the moment, like they seem so consequential. But then if you take a step back from the bubble that you're in, and if you could vicariously look at yourself and see what
Hmm.
you're doing, you'd say, ah, okay, this is not the end of the world.
Hey everyone, welcome to Big Jib Drop, the podcast that's here to help young professionals navigate the marine industry with clarity and confidence, answering your questions as authentically and openly as possible.
That's right. Transitioning from school to industry can feel overwhelming, but you're not alone. Think of us as your friendly neighborhood guides. We've been there and we're here to help.
Our podcast is proudly sponsored by the SNAMI Canadian Atlantic section and hosted by me, Danielle.
And me, Pranay.
Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Big Ship Drop. I, as always, am your steadfast host, Pranay, and I'm joined by my co-host, Danielle, as always. And today, we have a very student-centric episode that we are very excited to serve up to you guys on a silver platter. So without further ado, Danielle, how are you doing? How are things with you?
Oh, things have been pretty good, easing into winter here now, I think, even though it's still fall. But I'm already getting used to the colder temperatures and the changes. But yeah, super excited to talk about our university experiences here today. I think it's going to be great. I'm honestly, Pranay, I'm excited to learn a little bit more about yours. So we talk a lot about our careers, but now let's get back to it. Let's talk about school. Let's talk about those formative years when we left high school and made our way into the marine industry.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the building blocks.
There you go.
Yeah. So beginning, as we often do at the beginning, I would like to ask you, Danielle, when you look back at your university years, what's the first thing you wish someone had told you before you began?
Actually, so I know we kind of prepped for this episode a little bit, and I was pondering, like, what is the number one thing that I wish someone had really told me before going into university? And I wanted to really come up with one thing, like, what is the number one thing? And I think after reflecting, it has to do with well-being mattering just as much as academics. For myself, anyway, I know that when I dive into school, I tend to put all of my focus and emphasis on school, which completely makes sense. Don't get me wrong. I'm not diminishing that whatsoever. I do agree that it's very important. However, I think that we spend so much time glued to a desk. You spend so much time focused on all this work to be done. And I even reflect back and I think to those like habits that I kind of developed with respect to eating, with respect to not sleeping, with respect to not exercising or not really doing anything or taking any time for myself because school to me was everything. So I do think that there is a part of me that maybe wishes I had some permission. I don't know, permission from someone else, permission from me current to younger me. You know what? It's okay to relax a little and maybe take a step back and not take everything quite so seriously. So that would be my number one thing. And short-term habits, like these habits that I developed in university, upon reflection, like they did kind of then carry into my work life. Things like bad sleep hygiene, honestly, because I was so used to staying up late and studying and cramming and being stressed out, too much coffee, all of those things. Those habits definitely carried with me into school and into work actually after. And honestly, I'm still kind of working to reverse some of those, really. Like, they catch up with you. Like now I'm in my early 30s, and I mean, I know I'm still young. I acknowledge that. However, there are some things I probably could have done throughout my university years to set myself up a little bit better along the way. So that's my number one. And sometimes, again, young students need that permission. So maybe you hearing that coming from me today, give yourself some grace sometimes. Take some time for yourself. Don't just, grades aren't king for absolutely everything. We'll get into that a little bit more too, because I know you and I have some experiences around that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So do you have any, do you have a number one piece of advice, or is there one thing that you kind of wish someone had told you?
Well, my number one piece of advice, I'm actually going to save for the very end of this episode.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh,
what I wish somebody what I wish somebody had told me before was to, actually take a second to try and appreciate these surroundings that you're in.
Yep.
With me in particular, going to university and then having that giant campus all around me. I mean, other than walking around that big campus,
Yeah.
I don't know if if I really was able to connect with the campus the best way I could have, because obviously, as always, there was always an imaginary sword sort of hanging over my head, and
Yeah.
obviously we're gonna get into that in a little bit when we talk about grades and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's one big thing that I would sort of ask everyone to look into when they're
Yeah.
beginning their university journey.
For sure. Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I understand the feeling. I get it. I know. Yeah. So our next question then, let me ask you the next question here now. When you started at university, did you start off with a certain career or academic plan in mind? And was there any pressure to carry through that academic plan while you were in university or after university? What was your experience?
So academic plan, yes, I did have a bit of an academic plan because I started with engineering because I sort of knew that I was going to study engineering. Um, Obviously, when you're in your first year, you sort of have an inkling, or maybe if you've researched better, you have some people have a very direct idea that this is the
Absolutely.
exact
Yeah.
discipline that I'd like to get into. Although I always wanted to work with boats, although I always wanted to work in the field of marine engineering or naval architecture. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, when the options were there when I first joined engineering, it does come to your mind, like mechanical is also maybe not that bad. Civil is also maybe not that bad. Electrical and computer was a no because I knew that I wasn't smart enough for those. But just being honest here, I did sort of have a career plan in mind because again, there was this, the stereotypical sort of Asian parents going, no, you need to go and get a professional degree in a technical field. And
Right.
I didn't get into med school, so engineering I had to do.
Did you try to get into med school?
I did back home.
Yeah,
It
fair enough.
didn't
Fair
work
enough.
out. It didn't
Wow.
work out
Well,
for
look
the
at
best.
you.
For the best. I mean, I personally speaking, I would have been a terrible physician. I think I am. Honestly, I'm much better at dealing with a project or a piece of math
Right.
or a 3D model rather than trying to operate on a live human being. No, that's not for me, not my way.
Fair enough.
So yeah,
I
I
had no
did have
interest.
there you go, fair game. So yeah, I did have that plan in my mind that
Right.
I was gonna study engineering, I was gonna get a B Eng, and it's sort of, I had this thought that I shouldn't let people down. And for those of our listeners, you can't obviously see me. I'm doing air quotes as I'm saying that, let people down, because there was a feeling of like, no, you must do well. You got to have good grades. Like,
So, okay,
otherwise, what are you doing?
Where did the feeling come from? That's my question. Was it from your family, or was it, because mine was always self-inflicted. I know that.
Yeah. So it's for the longest time, I thought that it was my family.
Yeah.
Because that's what it seems like on the outside. But then as the years went by and I was in university and I was finishing up, I realized that most of it was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
And at its core, your family just wants to see you be happy and do well.
Yeah. That's right.
But if you make things up in your mind in a way that, no, I'm actually being pressurized by people on the outside to do this, and so
yeah,
I rebel without a cause and all that. So there was really no need for it. Like, there was certainly there were expectations, I would say, from my family. There were expectations, but the pressure was self-inflicted.
The other side of it. Yeah, no. Well, the other side of it is too, like sometimes when it's like your parents or your family, like funding your education, I understand, like, they want to see you succeed and they're investing in you. So there is a part of that as well. And I do understand that. But I also think, unfortunately, it then creates this added level of pressure where we don't want to let them down and we don't want to let ourselves down. Although I agree. I think I always did the exact same thing as you, where I kind of said, I don't want to let my parents down. But my parents, like you said, really just wanted to see me succeed, or just wanted to see me build a life for myself doing something I enjoyed. Truly, it wasn't necessarily, we need you to get A+++. It was, we just want you to do well, and so.
No, absolutely, I totally get that. So sort of carrying on in that vein, since we are all aboard the Nostalgia Express, um, I know that university can be a daunting place for a lot of people to just
Yeah.
start, because when you're there in university, you're in college, and you see so many people all around you from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, and often there is a feeling that a lot of people feel,
Mhm.
which is the want to fit in. So I would like to ask you, were there times when you felt like you didn't fit in? And in those scenarios, or maybe not in those scenarios, how did you build your community in university?
I think I would say that I kind of struggled to fit in from day one, mainly
Mm.
because it was such a technical program, especially. So I did marine engineering systems design at the Marine Institute,
Yep.
and I had never even really seen pipes or spent much time on ships. So I
Mhm.
remember kind of walking in and just feeling this imposter syndrome right off the bat. Like, am I even capable of learning this? Like, it was very intimidating getting
Mhm.
started. And being someone who really did focus, I guess, or did really well in high school. Like I did
Mhm.
well. My academic career throughout high school, junior high, everything was pretty good. So the idea to me of like walking into something brand new, totally foreign, really left me feeling kind of like, what did I get myself into? I definitely didn't really feel like I fit in right off the bat. Then, of course, there's meeting new people. You're showing up to school. You have all these different groups of people that you've never met, and you're trying to make friends while trying to find your place academically. Like it's kind of a everything. So I definitely felt out of place in that regard. I also really struggled just with confidence, and I was very shy when it came to speaking up in class or
Mm.
going to, like, I remember our first student events at conferences and things like that, kind of showing up, or career fairs, and being told by your profs, like, oh, go approach these people. And I remember being like, like, again, imposter syndrome, right? Like, I can't even fake my way out of this. Like, how am I don't know anything. So there was a little bit of that. Now, when I got around to building a community, I started saying hi to people and admitting
Mm.
I was a little bit nervous. Honestly,
Yeah,
I found that being genuine actually ended up going quite a long way in a lot
it
of
goes a long way.
regards. Yeah. And it turns out a lot of times the other people were nervous as well, or they were a little like social encounters when you don't know people. It's so funny. I used to think when I came in from high school, I thought that, I'm just really shy and it's bad for me, but everyone else is having an easy time with this. Obviously not the case now. I understand that
No.
now, but in the moment, everything feels so big. I want to say, like, to
Yeah.
you, it
Mhm.
feels so big, but everybody's experiencing the same feelings. So just admitting that I was kind of struggling, realizing that everyone is a little bit uncomfortable. So kind of just remembering that to myself. And in school, I started organizing a lot of social events for my class just because it takes me a while to get comfortable, but once I'm comfortable, I'm actually a very social person and I love social events. So,
And
yeah.
you're an organizer to boot.
Yeah, I am. So I loved organizing social events and everyone would come. And then by the end of my time at the Marine Institute, I was kind of known throughout my class as like being like,
Mm.
oh, she organizes these things. We're gonna plan this social event. Just ask Danielle. She'll get everyone to go. Right. So that's kind of what I did. I built that rapport with my friends and with the school, and yeah, I got comfortable. And I guess
Yeah.
there's also growth, that came with that. I had to push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit, and it really paid off. So what about you?
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add there?
Well, I mean, speaking to imposter syndrome, right? Oh my God, I don't know how to use Rhino 3D. I'm gonna fail. What's gonna happen to
Literally,
me?
right?
What's gonna happen to me?
And that's the thing. In the moment, you're like, what's going to happen to me? But now,
Yeah,
I mean, in hindsight, you can be like, worst case, you do fail the course and then you just retake it. Like, you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
never the end of the world. It's never that big.
Things seem very consequential when
Yeah.
you're there, when you're in the moment. Like they seem so consequential, but then if you take a step back from the bubble that you're in, and if you could vicariously look at yourself and see what
Mm-hmm.
you're doing, you'd say, okay, this is not the end of the world. So yeah, like student clubs, like I joined a few of them. Like I remember first year, like I joined the theater club at MUN because I used to do like a
Fun.
little bit of I don't know, like acting in like high school and stuff. So that was a fun time. I met a fun group of people, and then
Yeah.
eventually when I was in engineering, gosh, like I tried to do like so many things. Like I went to like the first meetings of like a bunch of clubs, like the aerospace club. I went to their first meeting and I realized that that wasn't for me. And then I went, I went to the robotics club, I think, and I went there for the pizza, for the free pizzas. But
It got you in the door.
and then I realized right away that, okay, computer, no, electrical, no.
Right.
And it's just about, figuring out what your strengths are essentially from the
Yeah.
inside. And eventually what ended up happening was that naval architecture had such a small class anyway, like we graduated with 16 people from my class,
Right.
that we kind of ended up in our own way forming our own sort of community
Yeah.
where, everyone was in class. People were very helpful towards each other. Generally, people were kind to each other, which is quite that goes a long way as well. Like
Yeah.
there wasn't, I can never recall any sort of malicious or slightly negative experience that I had like with my graduating class. So that there, I found a bunch of boat nerds who wanted to
Yeah.
study boat.
It was the same with my class. Like I graduated with 10. Our graduating class
Mm.
had 10. And it was the same thing. You're with the same people for 3 years doing all of your classes together. You really do become attached, and we really were our own little community. And it was really nice. Yeah, like you all had the courses in common. You go to lunch together down in the cafeteria, so you're chatting, and then that really was my group of friends, and I'm sure you had a similar experience with your NAVAR class.
Yeah. No, it was a great experience.
Yeah. So thinking about all that stuff now, Pranay, got any advice for the youngsters who want to fit in, but find those large gatherings to be really intimidating? Because I know that they can be very intimidating, and I'm
Yes.
sure there is some eager listener listening right now for your piece of wisdom, Pranay. So let's give it to them.
Okay, piece of wisdom. Well, thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
I'll get on. So, firstly, it's very normal to find those gatherings to be intimidating because that's what they are. They are intimidating. Whether that be writing an exam in one of those like giant like gymnasiums, those pressure cooker exams, or whether it is you stepping into a class where you know that people are not from the same background as you. Perhaps
Yep.
you are one of two persons who's from the same background who maybe thinks that, well, okay, will these people be receptive to my experiences? Will they be able to resonate with me? Will they find my nature to be inherently friendly, or will they perceive it to be, I don't know, something weird, something completely left of center field, something different? And in those scenarios, I think one thing that you have to take for granted is that you need to normalize your nerves around meeting new people, because at the end of the day, you are in a competitive program, but it's not so that everyone's competing with you. All of you are competing to sort of pass, to do well, essentially, to not get an F, to get through, complete an assignment.
Right.
Pretty much everyone, I know, like, obviously some people are really good at university, like they are very good at getting grades. That doesn't always mean that they have the best understanding. Because somebody can have really good grades. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're a technical genius or that
Sure.
they know the work. So that's one thing that I would recommend a lot of young listeners to shed this idea that you're lesser than or you don't know. Rather, keep an open mind, keep a curious mind. And when you are sharing your experiences or sharing your story or sharing your perspective, be assertive. Like one of the first things that I encountered in my class, funnily enough, was getting everyone in my class to say my name right. For Danielle, I mean, you know me, the way my name is written versus the way it sounds is quite different.
Yep.
And I thought that how are people going to take it? Like, this is a class like me and another Bangladeshi guy and then 14 people from Newfoundland. How are they going to say my name, which sounds so differently? So one thing that I did was very early on, when people were introducing themselves, I gave the whole spiel that, yeah, my name is Pranay, but it's written Pranaya because I don't know, my dad did it. And I guess and then I went for the technical explanation. When you take a Sanskrit word and you Anglicize it, it gets an A added to the end, like the Hindu god Krishna becomes Krishna, the Hindu god Ram becomes Rama. That's how Pranay becomes Pranaya, but it's Pranay.
Right.
And for the next 4 years, they all diligently called me Pranoy, and all of my classmates who in the future became my workmates still refer to me as Pranoy. So,
Yeah.
just sometimes if you are anxious, there's a big possibility that the other person is anxious
Oh,
as well.
yeah. Yeah.
So I know it's not easy, but why don't you consider breaking the ice first? Because if you break the ice, well, there you go. There's no ice now.
Yep.
So now, then they can see. They say, okay, this guy is approachable, and we can actually like
Yeah.
strike up a conversation.
Yep.
So I want to touch on that with you as well, because you are somebody who has been to a lot of networking events, a lot of technical events. Would you be able to tie that experience with our topic of discussion for this one, like advice for the youngsters? How would you reinforce them along that line?
Yeah, I mean, I think you covered it really well in the sense that the first step is just getting that boost of confidence or pushing yourself to just do the thing. That's what I always say. Like the same way we say yes to all opportunities because you never know unless you try, right? So I feel the same way here. Of course, it's easier said than done. I always like to kind of say that because I know when I was a student, I did also really struggle with that, but also celebrate the wins, right? Actually take the time to acknowledge like, wow, I'm really proud of myself. I actually just approached that person and said hi, and it actually went well. You're reinforcing in your brain then for next time, like, you know what, last time I did this and I had this conversation and now I know this person and we're actually kind of friends. So I think that that's kind of how I approach things now as well. I mean, of course, now when I attend industry events, I have connections, and it's because I had the courage to say hi to those people in the first place. And now every time I see them, oh my goodness, hi, I'm so happy to see you again, right? So but it took that first little nudge of confidence to kind of do it, but it's not easy. Acknowledge it's not easy and celebrate the fact that you do it anyway. Those are the two things, I think. And I think your story ties it in well too. Honestly, I'm so proud of you, Pranay, for having the courage to approach like you said, a group of Newfoundlanders, and you're trying to explain to them how to pronounce this name that to them probably is different, but it is your name, right? And you deserve that respect just as much as anyone else. And they probably appreciated the fact that you just addressed it right off the bat. And now we don't even have to go through this awkward encounter of me not knowing how to say your name. And now they say it correctly. So, I'm really proud of you. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely. And I'm really proud of my classmates as well. Shout out to them. Now that you've given us some great words to live by, let us now tackle the big bad wolf that we have in our conversation today, which is the question regarding grades. So, how did your perspective on grades change during your time at university?
Well, you and I have already had conversations about this before. We both acknowledged that we were kind of high achievers in the sense that grades really I prioritized my grades. Grades were really important at the beginning to me. Now, I will say, I recognize now that was a bit of a mindset that kind of carried with me from high school. For myself, I recognize as well that I have a bit of trauma from my past years growing up, and grades were something that I used to define myself. I always did well in school. And that was the one thing that I didn't have to worry about. So I found then coming into university, I kind of upheld that mentality starting off. But as I kind of got into school and I started realizing, what's the point of beating myself up over a B? Like, really, I can't expect to get all of these amazing grades all of the time and uphold a social life and maybe carry a part-time job. And it's my first time living on my own. Like, there were so many other things. When I was back in high school, it was just me living with my parents. I didn't have to worry about anything. But all of a sudden now I'm actually an adult and I have a life. And you know what? I'm not going to beat myself up over these grades, because I started also realizing that there was just more to courses than grades. Like, even when I was in high school, I don't even know if I retained everything I learned there. It was just, you know what? I got good at taking
100%.
tests, truly.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's something to be said about that. I can study. Right? But then all of a sudden in university, it was like, okay, like more project-based courses. And I actually am learning hands-on skills that I'm going to need to carry into my job. So learning became less of, okay, I just need to pump these things out and get good grades to more like, okay, I actually want to learn these things. I want to be able to do these things. So I started enjoying learning a little bit more. I started actually enjoying the coursework, taking the time to ask questions to my profs, and it started just becoming more fun, dare I say, a little bit. Like
Absolutely.
it was more applicable. It was just, and I wasn't being so hard on myself. Like now I will say this has still been gradual. I mean, I'm 31 years old now and I still take courses. I'm working on an education degree now, but I will say, I say these things. If I see a low grade, sometimes there's still that pang of like, oh, right.
There's that tinge.
But at the same time, I also acknowledge I have a full-time job. I volunteer. I have a family. I have other things, and that's it.
You have a life.
I have a life. So it's just balance. Balance is everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything is balanced.
Yeah. What about you, Pranay?
I mean, I agree with you in that when I started at uni, I had this mindset that I don't have a job, so university is my job.
Yeah.
And I was very focused on I need to do well, because if I do well and if I do well early on, I'm sure a lot of people are aware of this, but for those who are not, I'm just going to put it out there. There's this thing that a lot of people say that when you start university, you're in your first year, the courses are supposed to be easier than the final year courses. So a lot of people, what they will do is that they'll do well, so their early CGPA is actually quite good. And then if it takes a little hit, it's not going to fall that much. So that's the mindset I went in with. Here's what happened. I failed programming in my first year. So that tanked my GPA and my self-esteem like right away. It was my first semester as well. And I was like, man, I am such an idiot. Like, how am I going to do anything? But then again, gradually over time, like I had sleepless nights. I couldn't sleep because I was so worried, because I was like, I'm wasting my family's money. Like here I am, I'm supposed to study, get a degree, but I'm failing. I'm a loser. I'm an idiot. I'm never going to be anything.
Gosh.
And I just couldn't sleep. Eventually, as time went on, and I realized that grades aren't the only or even the best measure of success, because like you said, there's a difference between knowing how to write exams versus actually learning. There's a much bigger difference.
Absolutely.
So eventually, I found that the focus shifted from external pressure to internal growth.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That shift in understanding is what really matters when you want to grow as an individual. And I think that's what saw me through. And eventually I just wasn't focused on the grades. I was enjoying my coursework, and the reverse effect happened. Because I was enjoying my coursework, my grades got better,
Exactly.
much better,
Yeah.
second, third, and fifth year. And then I'm a 3 point something.
Yep.
So yeah.
Good for you. I think it's important to acknowledge here too, it's a journey. Like it's not something that happens
Absolutely.
overnight. I think it's normal to feel these pressures and feel this way. But I think it really comes down to giving yourself grace when you are struggling, when you get a low grade, or when you realize, you know what, I'm trying to study, but I can't focus on anything because I'm tired and I didn't sleep, or, all of these things compound. And it really is a journey. You have to give yourself that compassion to learn these lessons as well, right? Like we can sit here and tell you our experiences, but we had to go through this growth. And now I can look back and reflect on it. But in the moment, getting a low grade was devastating, right?
It was so demoralizing.
Right. But now I look back and I don't even remember what courses I got. Like you remember that one course you failed, right? But it's so meaningless now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
it's quite meaningless now.
Yeah. It's just important to note that, because it's just, it'll come with time. If you're not there yet, you'll get there.
Absolutely. So I'm actually going to break convention now. I'm going to ask you another question. So there's going to be 2 questions back to back for you.
Wow.
So are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
What's one mistake that you made in university that ended up teaching you something valuable?
Oh, okay. Number one. So I actually wrote down 2 because I have 2 but my number 1, I think, is basing my decisions on what my friends were doing. This is my number 1. And I actually encounter this one a lot. Like even when I talk to young people nowadays, I actually recently did a high school career fair. And I had a couple of high school students kind of say to me, I was like, what are you going to do? And they're kind of like, oh, I'm doing this because she's doing that. Okay, I understand. I get it. Again, we tie back to like the fear of imposter syndrome, the fear of showing up places and not knowing anybody. But don't do that to yourself, because I acknowledge now that there are certain things, honestly, I didn't even want to do what I ended up doing initially. I thought I was going to go become a teacher, and not that there's anything wrong with teaching. It's more
No.
so just I wanted to go to university with my friends. I did, right? And no one else was going to the Marine Institute, and I was like, do I really want to do that? Now, I'm glad I did. Now, then there were other things in the Marine Institute while I was there. Like, my friends didn't want to go to social events, so I wouldn't go to social events. Or maybe my friends went and did this and I wanted to do that, but I didn't want to miss out or whatever. So I think just really thinking for yourself, take the time to think about what you actually want and don't just go with status quo or follow all of your friends. My second one is don't rush everything. Again, like, these are your golden years. Enjoy it. I remember like a summer between 2 semesters, I decided I was going to work a part-time job in industry, which was great. I enjoyed it. But then I also said, I know I want to do this other degree after, so I'm going to start taking some courses part-time now. And before you knew it, I was like, I can't even enjoy my summer because I'm just trying to pile all this stuff in and get it out of the way. And I burnt out. That is something I've struggled with quite a bit throughout my career too, is just not knowing when enough is enough and just I want to get that done. Let's get this done and out of the way. And then you're like, I got myself in this pickle here now, and I'm rushing through everything and I'm stressed for no reason. I chose to do all of this stuff. Why did I do that? So resist that pressure to get it all done and out of the way. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, because before you know it, you're going to be, you're going to have bills to pay. You're going to have a home and a family or whatever you choose, and enjoy the time that you have right now to get through your courses. Like you kind of said, school was your job. So enjoy that period of your life as well, right? I mean, it sucks. I remember being a broke student in debt, but at the same time, that was part of the experience, right? And now I've of course I recovered, and now it's just different.
Hey, from Mr. Noodles to eating handmade buckwheat ramen, we've all come.
Right? I literally think about that all the time. Like, what was in my cupboard? What did I have in my cupboard? Mr. Noodles, sidekicks, craft dinner. Like, oh my goodness. And don't get me wrong, I loved all of these things, but there was not a nutrient to be found, I think. Just carbs and salt. But that's the experience, right? And now maybe it ties back into my first point. I should have focused a bit more on well-being. Should have maybe had an apple.
But, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But yeah, no, I agree with you. One must think for themselves. That is crucial. I'm not going to add any further points to the points that you've made, because they are apt and they cover the topic of this question just perfectly.
Good. Well, thank you. I'm glad you agree. It looks like we both learned those lessons. So what do you hope, Pranay? I know you left us with that little cliffhanger back there about your number one tip. What do you hope that students take away from your story here today, Pranay?
Honestly, I would say rejoice evermore. Rejoice. It's not often easy or sometimes even possible, if you're not in the right circumstances, to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But there is light. And when you're in university, when you're in college, when you're transitioning, when you're basically going from somebody who's a student, somebody who's actually learning about the real world that's out there, like if you want to go work in a certain industry, then these years are going to mold you.
Yeah.
And they will be the best years of your life. And throughout all the long nights, all the tension, all the idiocy, stupidity, and naive optimism that a young person has, this time is the best time of your life. So honestly, try and take it easy on yourselves.
Yeah.
And remember that it's not the end of the world. It seems like the end of the world when something goes awry in this scenario, but often it's not. It's a part of your life. It's not your entire life. So don't make it the sun around which your life revolves, and then you just forget to actually stop and smell the roses, like actually take a second to experience this great buzz of life that's around you. Like when you go inside a college or a university campus, there's so much life everywhere. It almost seems like this building, which is made of concrete and rebar, has come alive. It's because of the people. There's everybody's moving in different directions. Everybody's got something on the go. Everybody's got some idea that they're trying to, some guys like adding +1s and +2s and seeing if he's gonna pass a grade, someone's like cruising through, somebody's barely scraping by, somebody's doing just okay to get through. And at the end of the day, like that just shows you or gives you a taste of the different sort of experiences that you're going to have going forward in life. Things are not going to be smooth. The roads are going to be bumpy. So when you are experiencing difficulties in university, or when you were thinking about going into university and it seems intimidating to you, don't succumb to the negative messaging. Don't succumb to, your initial negative reaction. Give yourself some grace, give yourself some time, show up even when it's scary, because things will work out as long as you believe in yourself and you give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
And remember, GPA will not define you.
Yeah.
Unless you want to be a PhD student, in which case a GPA might define you to an extent.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, in general, even then, GPA doesn't define you. Hey,
No.
There are many smart people out there, like who maybe they don't have a big GPA, but they have done like they're captains of industry.
Yep.
Okay, to use a Gilded Age term, they're captains of industry.
I was gonna say, yeah, I know so many people that actually didn't do so well in school and now have like the best jobs ever. So it does not define you.
Absolutely. And what would you say, Danielle? What's your sort of final takeaway, your final giveaway to our young listeners, our student listeners in particular?
Well, I honestly, what you said, give yourself grace. That's become my new motto in life, even now, every day. I have it sticky noted on my computer screen because I don't give myself enough grace, and
Amazing.
I know I should, and I know everyone should, because we're all just doing our best in this crazy world to survive and learn and get as much out of it while we're here, So I do think it's critical. But I also think another really important one is just don't put that pressure on yourself to have everything figured out right away. Because I know so many people who've gotten into university, started something, and then realized, this isn't for me. Don't be afraid to pivot. Like, don't feel like you need to just, because you started this thing, you have to finish this thing. You are learning so much about yourself. Think of how young some people go to university. Like, I was 18 when I moved out on my own. So, no way, I didn't know myself then. I still am just learning, really. I know myself a lot better now. But so if you don't have it all figured out, don't put pressure on yourself. It'll come. Just do your best every single day. Get up and do your best. As long as you're putting your best foot forward, you're doing all that you can. Good on you.
Good on you. Quite the reflective journey for me personally. So thank you again, Danielle, for thinking up this great topic as you always do and organizing this.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Pranay, too, for sharing your story. Honestly, I feel like I know you so much better now on that deeper level. And again, I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of everyone. We are all here and we're doing our best every day. And I am just so happy to be here sharing this moment with you. So
absolutely. We are the world.
See you guys.
Bye.